Hi, I'm your host Kelly Bowen, and you are listening to the Lifestyle Finance Australia show, which is dedicated to creating greater awareness about the power of leveraging finance when it comes to accelerating your growth and personal development. And we celebrate the hundreds of coaches, thought leaders, and game changers we support. This is a platform where you can meet some of the world's best experts in online business, trauma healing, digital marketing, relationship coaching, abundance and wealth creation, spiritual ascension, body healing, and wellness. So if you're looking for your next coach, healer, or mentor to take you on the next step in your journey, this is the show for you. Let's play. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to another episode of the Lifestyle Finance Show. Today, I have another incredible guest who's doing some pretty cool things in some sort of outside of the box places. And I'm super excited to be having this conversation today because we want to talk about what it means to be a well-resourced woman. Today, my special guest is Lezly Kaye. Welcome to the show, Lezly.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's such a pleasure. So, first question, just so that we can all sort of understand what it is that you do. Let's pretend that I don't know what you do or any of the amazingness that you offer to the world. For our listeners, what is it that you do and what's your magic?
I call it weaving worlds. So essentially, I've got a long corporate history. I've built and failed and built and succeeded in businesses. And I help women sort of come into relationship with themselves so they can come into relationship with the world, and whether it's a business or their career, and truly just start to come home to what it is they truly want in themselves and in life.
Amazing. And with that, like, what are some of the biggest things that you're noticing that's having women be disconnected, that they're having to really sort of embody to come home to themselves? Are there any themes that you're noticing?
Oh, yeah. And prevalent to what we're going to talk about today is that we think we have to do it all. And especially for those of us that either aren't supported or haven't learned to communicate well with our partners, single mothers, there's this thread of having to do everything ourselves. And almost on one hand, everyone is tired, like everyone is sick of being brave, everyone is sick of being strong, everyone is sick of doing it all themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yet there's no... a lot of people can't see the way forward, or they feel guilty for actually resourcing themselves, or they're in fear around resourcing themselves. So yeah, I guess it's just reminding women that we get to be well resourced and we get to receive, and life gets to be easy.
It's so interesting that you say this concept of receiving. It's actually like the most natural state for the feminine, yet through time and through culture and through, I guess, the evolution of, I think if we look at like the 3D sort of like matrix world, women have gone from being so suppressed and do as you're told, be a good girl, like be a good wife, like be traded for status or power or position or for safety or as a resource. Like we're going back a few hundred years to, like, at the end of World War II, when all the men were off at war, women started getting a little bit of power and a little bit of money and getting to the workforce. It was like, oh, this is great. And then to like the 60s, burn your bra and women's liberation. And then like, but going the complete opposite side of, well, you know, a man's no longer a financial plan, to, okay, well, not only am I going to be able to do it as a woman, but I'm going to be able to do it even better than a man and compete in all of those places. And then still try and like have a family, you know, make sure dinner's on the table, have kids, be a good mom, show up at all the PTAs. It's exhausting even just thinking about it. I can't even imagine like how it works. And even there was something, I can't remember who said this, but there was a conversation about equal rights, and it's not about like I want to be able to do the same as you. It's being able to have the same cerebral rights, like as in the way like our thoughts valued as much as any other. And I'm just curious, like how do we shift out of this? Because there is such a deep yearning and calling inside of the feminine collective. Like I even feel it inside myself. Like I've had to unplug from so many of these aspects myself to be like, no, I don't have to do it all. I can rely on team. But what do you think it is that helps women actually step back from that and embrace the concept of resourcing or team or leveraging, or like just being able to put it all down and be like, I will allow myself to be helped and I don't have to be Wonder Woman?
My first question would be, what's your relationship like with your mother? And I've journeyed this exact
Mm,
thing myself over the past, I'm going to say couple of years, but it's sort of come to fruition the past couple of months because this inability to receive from life generally stems from our first relationship with the mother, our mother. So
interesting.
that's the first place I'll always look, because, and not always, but in a lot of cases. And I say this because in my work, I sort of heal, embody, teach. So
Mm-hmm.
I've journeyed everything that I now take everyone through, whether it's plant
Mm-hmm.
medicine, whether it's shadow work, whether it's NLP, whether it's breath work. I truly believe for me to be able to serve that medicine, and I don't mean plant medicines, I mean breath is medicine,
Mm-hmm.
talk therapy is medicine, that you have to have received the medicine yourself.
100%.
So yeah, there's just this collective inability to trust, I feel. And a lot of that comes from the environments that we find ourselves in. Traditional businesses aren't structured to support women. They're not really structured to support anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had two corporate businesses, and I struggled when I sort of became more conscious, because as much as I wanted to create change in the workforce, not everyone was ready to receive the change. A lot of people just want to be told what to do and have a lot of structure.
Mm.
And also I was in mining, so the landscape that I was playing in wasn't set up to support anything nourishing. It very much go, 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 go. And as I've sort of walked myself through this journey of coming back into relationship with myself and coming back into relationship with life, I've realized that for most of my life, I created overstimulation. I created a world where I was needed all of the time. I created this narrative that I couldn't rest because someone needed me, because a part of me desired to be needed.
Mm-hmm.
So as you start to peel back these layers and look, my signature program is based around this self-responsibility code, which is what I founded 12 years in corporate, and then throw in a spiritual awakening. And I wanted to bring this, I guess, pattern of how we heal and how we come home to ourselves to more people. And the self-responsibility code is, when shit was going wrong in my life, rather than going, these are all the things that are going wrong external, it is, where am I not showing up for myself first? Where am I not showing up in the world? Where am I projecting my pain or my childhood or my trauma onto things outside of myself in order to not take responsibility? And it's a process I walk people through to sort of go, guys, like, if you aren't happy with any area of your life, the only person that's to blame is you. And how can we come into relationship with ourselves without adding more shame or guilt or blame or like right or wrong mentality? How can we just be like, do you know what? It just is. And how can I create change in my life so I can feel well supported? So I'm ensuring that I'm creating a business that is giving me life rather than taking from me, and actually starting to sort of flip the narrative to truly step out of victimhood and into, this is where we are, but this is where we're going, and I'm going to do what it takes to get to where we're going.
Yeah, I really love that. And that self-responsibility pill, it's kind of like it is the most freeing and liberating thing you can ever embrace, and yet also the most like gut-wrenching, soul awakening pill you can also swallow. I just see like Morpheus, would you like the red pill or the blue pill? Which like one of them you choose, there is no going back. And it's like the moment the eyes open and the moment that you realize it's like, oh wow, I created everything, and oh wow, I created
And
everything.
everything.
And then you got to deal with the self, like all of the like that the anger and the guilt and stuff that
Yeah.
comes up with the self abandonment and the self betrayal, and then you want to point it outwards but you can't. And then like bringing that back around. And there was something that you said when we were talking about like what we're going to talk about today last week, and I think it really ties into this, like making the decision to build a business that nourishes you, not take from you. And you said to me, like, coming from recruitment, where you
Yeah.
got to be the star, you got to do like the amazing like people stuff that you just fly at, yet you had a team that you resourced to do all of the other stuff that just, not that you couldn't do it, it just wasn't your jam, and you weren't like super excited about it. Then
Yeah.
coming into this like more coaching business, like on your own kind of space where you've got to wear all the hats and you've got to be good at all the hats. And you kept getting this message of you've got to pay your dues, you've got to pay your dues. And you sort of bought into it for a little while until you're like, that's bullshit. I don't need to do it that way. That's not the environment I've come from. So you've replicated something else. Talk to us about that and how you created this to nourish you and what some of the shifts were around that, because it is, there is absolutely a rite of passage to business, yet it doesn't have to be hard, and it can be built upon the foundation of nourishment. So let's chat about that, because I was really quite inspired when you shared this with me the other week.
So first, I just want to start off with and we've had this conversation, for anyone listening, me and Kelly rescheduled a call last week because neither of us were in the right like our nervous systems, I'm a single mother. It was one of those days where everything just was going wrong. And we actually lent into a conversation around, I don't feel resourced enough within myself to show up as my best self in this call. And this is what kicked it off. So I also want to get that message out there is, I took self-responsibility. So I asked, is this going to throw out your schedule? Like, what does this look like if I don't show up for you in this moment? And if you had have said, no, you have to do it, all my schedule's out, I would have shown up 100%. But it's leaning into these conversations that sort of starts this level of self-responsibility of knowing where you're at in your body and in your life, and then asking people for support around you. So in that moment, I was asking you for support to make my day feel more spacious rather than contracted and rather than rushed and having to be on.
I love that you actually asked me if you were to make this decision, how would it affect me? Usually people don't go that far. You get as much as, hey, I can't make it, can we reschedule? Not, hey, I might not be able to show up. If I don't, what's the impact on you? So receiving that, I really liked it.
Yeah, truly. People tend to and there is a little bit of selfishness when coming into yourself. I've just done enough work to know there's putting yourself first, and then there's just not being considerate of people that you've made commitments to. So that's step number 2. But interestingly, I booked so how all this came about and how I sort of fully stepped into being well resourced. When I started this business, I had sold a previous business, so I had some funds, so I had money to invest in marketing, so I didn't have to do anything that didn't feel aligned for me, like cold dropping into people's DMs or not that I think I ever would. I speak to people about this all the time. I think there's a way to build relationships without just going, hey, my name's Lezly, will you buy from me? And I actually talk about it in my program because I've spent a lot of time getting into alignment with what feels nourishing and true rather than just cold pitching. And then I thought, I'm new to this game. I'm going to have to wait 2 to 3 years before I get a sales team, because who do I think I am walking into the coaching space full time? I have been doing it for years inside of a corporate business, but there was this almost like a stigma attached to it, like truly and self-imposed that I had to pay my dues. And then I love to travel. I'm newly single. I'm a single mum, but I don't have my son. I only have my son 50% of the time. So I have a lot of freedom in my life. And I was booking a last minute trip to Mexico, and I knew it was going to change my life, which it truly has. But I had my Align container coming up in 2 weeks' time. And I thought, I preach this medicine. I preach this message of you can have it all. So truly, where am I not allowing myself to have it all? Where am I restricting myself or assuming that I can't do something because of the rules that everyone else places on me? And sometimes our work is our own a lot of the time, actually, our work is our own medicine. And I was creating the content for my mastermind at the time, and I was like, fair play, universe. So I decided to outsource, and I actually have been speaking to a woman who has a sales team for some time, and she was like, I feel that you're ready. And I was like, nah, I don't think I can do it this soon. I don't think that it's right for me to not have these conversations with the women coming into my container. And then Mexico happened, and I was like, do you know what? The only way for me to truly live a life on my terms, the only way for me to feel supported and resourced and like I can continue to travel and continue to work at the same time is to outsource my sales course. And so that was a couple of months ago now, and I've never made more sales.
That's amazing.
And because I'm truly in receivership, and if you think about it, I'm playing into an ecosystem of someone else's abundance. So I get to, similar to using finance, not only do I get to resource myself, not only do I get to receive in that moment, but I've now fed into another mother who only works part-time, who has a team around her to support me. I'm fitting into this ecosystem. So this ecosystem of like well-resourced women is like growing around my business. So I'm in this like energy of reciprocity. So as much as I take, and we're meant to take, that's how we receive, I give back. And not only do I give back in time to my clients, but I give back in these connections with women that are running their own businesses, where I can go, do you know what? I would love to support women that can't afford the investment in my course. So how about you finance? I would love to support a mum that, you know, works part-time and frees up my time to spend more time with my son. So I'm going to outsource my sales calls. And it sort of landed me in this place of, not that I was ever unhappy, but I felt the creeping in of stimulation and the creeping in of pressure to, you know, make 10 calls a week, or, you know, I come from sales. I've built and scaled 3 recruitment businesses and, you know, 12 years in sales. So I know what I'm doing, but like you said earlier, like I feel relationships for me are built through the women that slide into my DMs and ask me questions, or jump on my masterclasses, or watch some of my content. You know, I have a tell-all video on my website because purely I want people to be able to feel into the essence of what it's like to show up unmasked in the world. And I show up unmasked in every arena that I'm in. And I feel that spending my time doing that, to even get into the, you know, the feed of women that maybe not be able to afford a course, to give them that belief that they can create change, they can start to do some of the steps to implement the medicine of coming home to themselves in their own life, is a lot more important than ticking a box to say I made 10 sales calls this week to fulfill some masculine structure of achievement or success, or earning my way through working harder than I'm receiving. It truly has to be in balance. It truly has to be in flow. And we have to feel well resourced. If you think about, you know, I say I'm grounded in spirituality. So as much as I play in the realm of, you know, masculine and feminine and energetics and this world of give and receive, if you're high stress, so if you are doing a million things, like trying to be a single mother, trying to grow and start a business, trying to serve your clients as well, because I've got to show up every single week to help people heal themselves and hold space. So within that, I also have to look after myself. So my nervous system remains grounded and balanced, so I can then be the container for these women to allow themselves to let go. Now, doing all of that and then throwing in 5 to 10 sales calls a week literally made me think, yes, I'm doing something I enjoy versus running a corporate business, but I'm losing the essence of having more freedom. And as soon as I turned on the tap to allow myself to be helped, I'm not stressed. I went and got a facial this morning. I made a sale. I made 10K this morning. Then I got a facial, and now I'm doing a podcast and dropped off my son. So woke up, dropped off, made a sales call, dropped off my son to school, went and got a facial, had lunch, and now I'm talking to you. And that is truly how we should be living and receiving, is in this ecosystem of give and take. There's a balance that we need to sort of restore in the world.
Yeah, 100. I couldn't agree more. And I know for myself, I love that you're touching on nervous systems here and nervous system regulation, because I think and I think this is the connection that people aren't making, particularly in the business world, that a stressed out nervous system means you're producing adrenaline and cortisol. And depending upon how you're doing it, and if you're doing those lots of sales calls and ticking those lists, you're going to have overactive levels of dopamine. But what that's actually telling your body from a frequency perspective is that you're in survival mode. And even though it might feel good to be running like so hopped up and high on chemicals, it's like trying to put too much energy through a power socket and flips all the circuits eventually. So if you're trying to call in a frequency of thriving, abundance, receiving, you're on the wrong radio station.
And they wonder why people burn out.
Yeah, or they can't close deals or something, or they're not like, they're running this high operating system for this very grounded, receptive, like inflow program, and it's like you can't. Your nervous system is literally the thing putting out the electrical impulses that's determining the dominant vibration that you're putting out to attract and call in with. If that's in survival mode and you're not in thrive, abundance, freedom mode, it's a total mismatch. And I know that, like, so I've recently had some very big changes in terms of I've lost the staff in the process of hiring staff and onboarding a VA all at the same time. So all of my free time that you're talking about right now that I had, that I loved the day, the exact day that you're talking about was a regular day for me. And right now I've gone into like all hands on deck. And the thing that I notice the most in terms of my own nervous system regulation, there's a couple of tells that I do that I know when I'm starting to get into this like out of receiving space. First thing I do is stop breathing. And then if I realize I've stopped breathing, I start breathing shallow and fast. And I'm like, you might want to stop that, because what comes next is that your eyes will start to shake a little bit. You'll start to get the adrenal headaches. You're going to wake up in the middle of the night. It's just better to just step back, slow down and breathe. Come like back into your body. Things can wait. You can move things. And for me, this has been one of the biggest key lessons in terms of actually recognizing when I'm shifting out of this receiving mode into this stress mode, for me to catch it before I've gone too far. Because if I go too far and I don't get it, well, then it takes, like, once you've pushed your body that far, it can take days to regulate back and for the hormones to get out of your body. It's like taking drugs. It takes time to get out of your body.
Truly, it's a cycle that I used to live in. Push, 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 crash, 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 push, 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 crash, 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 crash. And that, you know, because I had an awareness to give myself a break, people would have called that healthy, where I was truly just, you know, I was 110 kilos, caught it like my hormones were all over the place. There was no level of health or sustainability in the way I used to operate, in almost like bleeding myself dry of any joy. And that version of me couldn't feel joy. That version of me didn't have the capacity to hold emotion besides stress or anger or frustration. To be fair, it's what started my journey into self, but it's not a nice place to be for very long. So yeah, just this, I would say, cold, dry place of survival and achievement.
Yeah, and it feels barren to be
truly
there. There's no enjoyment. I totally understand. Talk to me a little bit about this, if you're open to it, this spiritual awakening that you had. What, like, because I also know that you do a lot with plant medicines.
Yeah.
So can we talk a little bit about that and what some of your journey and healing around that has been? Because I've also had some experiences with plant medicine that were, again, like that emotional like lid that you like to keep on things. The moment you go there, it's like, here's the Jack in the Box. Start healing.
Truly. I don't have an emotional lid anymore. I feel it, like I will truly, if I'm out with friends. So I'll give you an example. When I went and saw my mum for the first time the other weekend, first time in 23 years, it's all across my socials if people want to have a gander at that. The next morning I went out to breakfast with my friends, and they closed breakfast like 10 minutes before we got there. I knew that I wanted like French, like I've got a great relationship with myself. So I don't normally eat sugar or bread. And I'm like, I'm having French toast because my little girl needs some love.
Yep. I understand.
But we got there and breakfast is closed. And I could feel this frustration, rage, bubble up inside of me. And I was like, and most people would just get frustrated, you know, be rude to the staff or shut down in some way. So I felt this anger rise, and I was like, said to my friends, look, I've got to go. And I actually was like, I just got angry internally at the fact that I can't order French toast. So, I know that something's off, and I just need to take a minute to actually go sit with myself and ask my little girl what is going on, because normally I can sense my emotions pretty quickly, but there was obviously something that I was suppressing that then came out as rage. So beautifully, I'm in this place where anytime I feel emotion, I don't suppress it in any form. I'll actually be like, pause, I've got to go deal with this. So I literally then went to a walk, went and sat on the beach, like in the middle of breakfast with my friends, and I sat down, I put my hand on my heart, and I'm like little girl, because I've talked to myself in this way, like, what's up? I thought we had open communication here. Like, where did this anger come from? And then I started to cry, and I started to actually feel into the emotions that I was feeling and why I had suppressed them even. So that's hot tip number one, is actually get in relationship with yourself, and don't be afraid if you feel a shift in your demeanor. And, I'm quite an outgoing person. So if I feel myself go insular, immediately I'm like, okay, why? Not to shame, not to guilt, not to even pull it out of her, because sometimes she doesn't, as in myself or my inner child, I talk to myself in the third person. Sometimes she doesn't want to communicate, and then I'll just be like, all right, when you're ready, I'm here. And this has really shifted my ability to be able to process emotions, because I'm in relationship with myself constantly. I think it helps that I'm a mother, because I understand the softness that children need to actually open up. I understand the tenderness. One of my sacred sexuality coaches that I work with, she says, we should only move as fast as the most tenderest part of us.
I like that. I've heard that before too. I'm so all for it. I can't remember where I heard it either, but it's beautiful, and it's
beautiful.
true.
And I now live by that. So, being type A personality, depending on what labels you buy into, I'm a manifesting generator, I'm a 3/5. So I'm all about like just getting out there and getting shit done and being amongst it. So I can move quite fast. But the more I come into relationship with my little girl, I'm actually working with my teenager at the moment, because there's some shit she's not happy with, but that's a whole nother journey. I can regulate a lot faster, and I'm more aware of what I'm feeling a lot faster. I don't need to sort of dive into the mess of life to dig out what I'm feeling. It's kind of right here. And that's a beautiful place to be in, because I then don't really suppress anything in my I guess emotional like cleaning out the cobwebs is a lot quicker and easier. But the start of my spiritual awakening was actually because I failed in business. So
talk to us about this.
Yeah. So first business, I got into partnership with someone, an older man who I thought I could trust. Truly was playing into my father wounds, and I can see that now, but at the time I was very blind to it. And essentially he ripped me off. He I was naive. I didn't know that, I thought I had a shareholders agreement, and that, that was it. There was nothing he could do to not stand by that. Speaking my truth.
I was noticing.
Turns out he had a gag order on me for some time. He probably does, but I'm in a space where I truly feel that things need to be spoken into, and I'm not in fear of being silenced or pushed to the side anymore. So yeah, he didn't actually lodge the shareholders agreement, which essentially meant that I owned nothing.
You own nothing. Holy shit.
And I got it in 18 months. I built it from nothing to 60 million in turnover.
Wow.
And the reason this all came about was because I was starting to ask about my dividends, because the deal was we wouldn't take any money out for the first 18 months. And then I was like, cool, so we've built it. Like, when can I start seeing some cash? And yeah, he started to avoid those questions, and I started to do some digging, and then someone shared with me some information, and they were like, you're not actually a shareholder.
Wow.
Yeah, so I then quit that job, I guess, because technically I was only an employee, and started my own business. Yeah. Quit on the Friday, started my own business on the Monday. and then again attracted another man in who I sort of felt like I was in control because it was my business, but went to get a partner in business. And there was just this pattern of them not being trustworthy and them trying to I guess screw me over in some way. And rather than sort of sit there and be like, why me? And I probably did for a period of time until I got sick of that narrative. I was like, yes, this keeps happening, but I'm self-aware enough to know that I'm the common denominator here.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it within myself that I'm not addressing that is allowing this to happen? Also in that second business, because I was so after I sort of got rid of this second business partner whose sole intention was to rip off my business, and which he did, and then I sued him. The business started to fail, and the reasons that it started to fail was because I was growing to prove to these men, i.e. my dad, cue father wound, that I didn't need them and that I was going to do it so much better without them. So I grew with ego. I grew really quickly. We went from like 0 to 40 internal employees in the space of like 8 months. We had 450 workers on site. So overnight, we became this huge organization. From pure determination. I definitely wasn't in my feminine. I was working 12-hour days. I was making sales calls. For the first half of it, I was filling my own jobs. Just from this pure, they say anger is a great motivator, and I was angry at the world. I was angry at myself. I was angry at all the men in my life that had fucked me over. And we grew too quickly, and our cash flow couldn't keep up. So I sent that business to the cleaners for $3.2 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gosh, what a journey. Talk about playing with like big numbers and growth and structure and like that push pull for like I think it's like power versus force, and
yeah, truly,
what a journey.
And seeing that money, like we would have $10 million in our bank account most days because our cash flow rates were quite high. Like even in my own business, I got it to 15 million in turnover without any investors in the first 12 months. So when you see those sort of numbers fly through bank accounts, you truly realize that there is so much money in the world, there is so much abundance, and all we have to do is crack the code to allowing ourselves to receive it. So this spiritual awakening came, when my business failed, basically, because I got sort of curious when all of these men that were here to fuck me over came in. But when I guess and I don't like the word failed, when I learnt my lesson in such a big way, I was like, that's enough. There's obviously some underlying shit here that I'm not facing that is causing me to blow up my world in such big ways. I found I guess shadow work and breath work container. I'd sort of dabbled with breath work up until that point, but not massively. So I found a shadow work and breath work 3-month container, and I stepped into that and truly just used it to catapult the change in my life. That was, God, 2 years ago now. I don't even recognize, I do, but I also don't recognize the woman I was back then. And just use that as a platform to then go into this deep journey of self-discovery. So I started with breath work and shadow work, and then I actually participated in NLP. And these are the modalities that I'm qualified in because, like I said, I like to use them to heal, and then I learn, and then I embody, and then I help pass on those tools to other people to create change in their lives too.
Yeah, I love everything about it. And I love like every time I hear your stories about this, and each time you tell me, I get like a little bit more of the snippets of who you used to be, like the woman that's sitting before me now. I can't even piece those pieces together. I feel like it's almost like your essence is being put into a completely new avatar kind of thing. Like
Truly.
It's almost been like a phoenix or something that's like crashed and burned and risen, and
so many times as well. Like, and my friends actually call me Phoenix.
That's great.
Because I'm not afraid of the fire either. Like sometimes we truly have to burn shit away. One thing I teach in my programs is how to do that with less fallout. So I was really good previously.
Talk to me about that. The fallout.
Fallout. Well, it's actually a vein of almost like positive self-sabotage. Like if I pull a grenade and blow this shit up, I can't go back. And whilst we're building trust with ourselves, sometimes that's handy, but there is gentler ways to create change within our lives.
Agreed.
So yeah, there's that is also a pattern of, I know I'm going this way. I don't know if I have the strength to not go back that way. So what I'll do is I'll fuck shit up, and then I can't go back that way, and I'll just keep going this way. And that was a pattern that used to play out for so long in my life until I noticed it. But you also asked about plant medicine. So I'm also studying plant medicine preparation and integration at the moment through an American company. There's not many associations in Australia yet that are on board with training and education, which I think will come in time, but America's obviously further ahead. So I actually am off to Costa Rica in, I think, 6 weeks to do my in-person part of that qualification. So psilocybin, magic mushrooms, is the medicine that sort of helped me deep dive into self and this self-actualization and self-realization. Again, because I call it weaving worlds, because I'm firmly, like, my logical brain, which I've operated on for most of my life, really likes the facts, really likes to be able to substantiate the etheric or esoteric aspects to the evolution that I'm feeling inside of my own psyche and inside of my own life. So again, it's like I've done a handful of plant medicine ceremonies, again, mainly mushrooms. I did ayahuasca a couple of weeks ago. Profound. I'm still integrating. I've had a big couple of months. And on a, I guess the science is limited in Australia, but on a scientific level, psilocybin, the active psychoactive ingredient in mushrooms, helps you open new neural pathways in the brain. So what I attest it to, or how I describe it, and I microdose, I'm an advocate for microdosing. Some scientists aren't. A lot of naturalists or plant medicine enthusiasts are. I don't like to use the word shaman because I think a lot of people give themselves that name, and I'm still learning the politics around that as I step more into this space, just very careful to be respectful of everyone and their beliefs and their systems of belonging. So for me, heroes doses or macro doses, like 3 to 5 grams of psilocybin, sort of, and I would never advocate for this unless you've obviously consulted.
Yes, we're not advocating for drugs right now.
We're not advocating for drugs.
About alternate pathways of healing.
My personal experience is that my first plant medicine journey was nearly 18 months ago. And just the, being such a highly egotistical, because I was highly driven, highly logical in my head, like I solved everything here, my body didn't come online ever. It allowed my ego to take a back seat. So it allowed me to actually, I guess, feel into my soul rather than the stories that I was telling myself about my life. So it was a catalyst for a lot of change. I waited the 6 months after, or 3 months after, they say, before you make big change in your life, but sold my business, left my husband. I was already losing weight at that time, but continued to lose weight. I sort of helped me to, I guess, recalibrate with the true essence of who I am, rather than this scared little girl that was operating in the world, fearful of more judgment or shame, or I guess not being accepted, because I'd always been an outside the box thinker, and I was then sort of programmed to stay within the confines of what society deemed as acceptable. And I did mushrooms after my 3 months sort of breathwork and shadow work container. And it's like I'd already made my decision in the container, but mushrooms then gave me the resolve to be able to actually put those changes into action in my life. Now, part of the reason I'm studying to assist people to prepare for ceremonies and integrate is because not everyone operates the same as me. And it can be really scary coming into the world and being like, I know I need to create this change, but I don't know how.
Mm-hmm.
And I also don't know how to in a safe way or a way that feels nourishing, rather than blowing shit up and just
Mm-hmm.
having to deal with the fallout, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then it's just been a journey of I don't chase it anymore. I used to. More just because, you know, I've always been this type A. Like I'm not afraid of the fire. I'm not afraid to go into my shadow. I'm not afraid to do the hard things, even if the hard things are realizing how hard I'm making my life through the subconscious patterning in my mind.
Oh, I understand. I get excited when I find a new thing. I was like, "Oh, I'm coming for you."
Yeah, truly. So I'm in this era of the rose, I call it, this like this blooming where I don't seek anymore. I open to life, and I open to whatever experience is there. So I open to love, but I also open to awareness. So if a shadowy part or a timeline that doesn't align with the highest version of me comes into my awareness, I'll deal with it. But I'm no longer like digging in the soil to find things that are wrong to heal.
Yeah. And I think that gets to a point too with that, because I know I've definitely been like through my own process with that, where it's like that moment where you realize you're talking about the responsibility codes method.
Of responsibility code. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
responsibility codes, right? So when you realize that, oh, I'm responsible for everything and I'm responsible for everything, like then you kind of go like, I don't know about you, but for me, from that, like I just went like all in into my unconscious mind. I'm like, right, all of my dysfunction, let's lay this on the table, because like you're talking about, I was a hand grenade person. Like, let's blow that up. There's no going back there. Or let's like just ride that train so far that you can't ride it anymore, that you can't, you got to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like that was me. And but again, this is where we start looking at nervous system regulation, right? For me, there was a nervous system dysregulation pattern. I didn't know how to make changes incrementally or to do things gradually or any of that kind of stuff. But I went like I don't know, like a mad woman into doing these things. And now there's just so much more gentleness and ease. And after like really deeply focusing on that, now there's little things and it's much more subtle. And it's not like the wheels don't fall off the bus. It might get a flat tire, but they're not rolling down the road and
Truly.
having to call a new bus kind of thing. So I think that gets to a point too. And I really like what you're saying there, like not seeking or chasing. I also feel I've landed in that place too, but I think that comes with like being a woman and like feminine energy and receptivity and receiving. You can't receive if you're chasing. I
No.
don't receive, I attract. And I
Yes.
also liked what you mentioned earlier about, the connections with the women you have are the ones that slide into your DMs. Funnily enough, me too. Like all my stuff, and so I haven't gone looking for them. They've just come into my, like, just slipped into my awareness, literally slid into my DMs. I literally have a joke about sliding into my DMs. So I find it so funny that you mentioned it, because I really deeply resonate.
Well, and this is the thing, if you're in this like love and trust of yourself, this reciprocity with life starts with the trust of yourself. So if I'm speaking to a client and they're like, I just don't know if I can trust the universe, I'm like, cool, then you don't trust yourself, because
Yourself.
that's truly all it is. Can you trust the decisions you're making, and can you trust that you've got your own back? And if not, can we find the times that you broke trust with yourself and start to repair that relationship? Because like, I know I've got me, like truly anything could happen tomorrow, and my relationship with myself is so solid that I know that I could ride any wave of any emotion
Yeah.
or any even in any shadow. I find, like, I think when you first start this journey too, there's like a fear of what you'll find within yourself, a fear of
It's terrifying. I remember plant medicine was the thing that ripped, like if I, all of the things that I was holding back, like I thought I was dealing with things and I thought I was processing, and I was, yet the capacity of which I really needed to, it was kind of like, it would get to the point I'd start to feel, and then my nervous system, my defense mechanism would kick in, and I'd kind of go numb, and I'd be like, oh,
disassociation.
yeah, absolutely, leave my body. And then what I found with plant medicine, it just ripped that thing right open. And I remember my friend sitting, I was sitting in my friend's lounge room, and we were having a beautiful mushroom ceremony. And she's like, well, what happens if you just let the dam break? And I'm like, if the dam breaks, it's going to destroy the town. It's going to flood the town. And she's like, but you can just let it out slowly. And I was like, oh, I didn't know about that. the dam broke, like the all of the emotions came through. But the one thing that I learned about that experience was that I didn't even know that you could feel heartbreak, loss, sorrow, like all of the things that I hadn't. I didn't even know I was capable of feeling it at that level. Like at points of like not wanting to be here, and I'm like, so it's so unnatural for me to have that feeling. And it wasn't like an act on it feeling, but I was just like, fuck, I understand why people jump off buildings. Like I get it
Truly,
when you've been suppressing and then you start feeling. But now that I've been through that, I'm like, whatever you got, unconscious, I got this. And it's like
truly.
you build that trust with yourself. Like once you step into it, and even though it's scary, but once you've been through it once, you're like, oh, I got this. Like we're okay. We're going to be okay. And I really loved how you opened at the beginning talking about the relationship you have with your little girl. I also do the same thing. Like if I don't listen to her, she will drop a grenade. So if I catch her in those moments of like what you're talking about with the French toast, like why did the rage come up, and have that moment, we don't throw grenades.
No, because you're actually in relationship with yourself, and if you have the tools to regulate, which I do, then you know what you need.
Yeah.
And that is what this work is. It's like how much can we come in relationship with ourselves so we can come into better relationship with the world. I'll just add to finish off the plant medicine conversation. If I was to ever suggest to anyone to take plant medicines, and if it's ever legalized in Australia and I go down that path, I will only ever do it with coaching.
Yes, 100%.
Because I actually think one, I know the level of fear that you can bring into a plant medicine space based on your trauma. And having a relationship with the person that's going to facilitate to create that safety within your own nervous system whilst you're in an altered state, paramount. And then the integration afterwards, because you're malleable, your neuro pathways are ready to be rewired for 3 to 6 months after an experience, sometimes even longer, depending on who you are. So if anyone was considering having an experience, look at the ways you're going to integrate that experience, because you can have I've taken plant medicines before and had a terrifying experience. Helped me bring my awareness online a lot quicker. I was just given too much and my nervous system couldn't help it. It blew me out of my body. Now I have an embodied experience of what that's like, but I think truly for anyone that may be curious of this vein of healing, make sure your facilitator, your sitter, or your coach has a structure to support you leading up to when you're going to see it, and the integration after. Or if you're going to go to a shaman or someone that just facilitates and then sends you out into the world, make sure you've engaged with a practitioner that can actually support you through the integration. Because yes, the ceremony is beautiful and it will give you insights, but the true way to ensure you're using that not just to get high or to bypass your healing, because a lot of people are like, can I have a plant medicine ceremony so I can bypass the real work I have to do in the world? So if you're serious about creating change, it's actually in the 3 months after a ceremony, a sitting, that you can actually help to change the way you think and to use the ability for your neuro pathways that are open to if you have a limiting belief, you can then change that to be your biggest supporter. If you have parts of you that are in conflict, you can erode those parts. And not only that, you can create new ways of showing up in the world. So you can replace fear with gratitude. You can replace anger with love. So just take responsibility when you decide to do plant medicines, and actually use it to set yourself up rather than just experience an altered state that may get you to change, but perhaps not as fast or as integrated as you would perhaps like if you had support in that arena.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because it's so important. Like when I did that, I had like 5 months of like that there was therapy, coaching. Like I had this all set up. It wasn't like I went like, had this.
I didn't. Both times. I'm telling you from an embodied experience, guys. Like, don't be me.
I would have connected myself if I didn't already have those things in place to take myself through that journey, because of what it brought. And I was ready to go there. Like I was so ready to go there. I just needed something to rip the Band-Aid off to have me go there, because my conscious defense mechanisms weren't letting me feel that. And it was
Yeah.
perfect. And we don't recommend it for everybody, and definitely do it under supervision of trained professionals. Like, if it's ever legalized in Australia, inverted commas, all the
Well, they
disclaimers.
reckon, I was actually at an event last night. I won't give you a date, just depending on when this gets aired, but I was at an event last night, and it's coming. It will legalize, from what I understand, in July 5th or something, or July 1st. The FDA will likely delist it as a class, like a banned substance. However, Australia moves at a snail's pace. So, and this was a part of the conversation that I was involved in, because I'm in organizations in America that are already, it was only legalized like a minute ago in America, and they've already got all of this infrastructure around it. So it will get delisted, I feel, but just be very cautious with ensuring that, psychologists right now can get a certification to use psychedelic assisted therapy in their clinics. So if you're curious and you want a safety net, perhaps start there. But just pay attention to people that actually support you leading up to the journey and after the journey. That would be my advice, is to just ensure that you have that level of integrity and responsibility with the person that you're going to be in this space with.
Yeah, definitely before and after key is critical. So I have 2 more fun questions for you. First question is, what's been exciting you recently? What's getting you out of bed?
Life, truly. Like, honestly, the life I have created for myself. I may even cry with how happy I am.
Okay, I wish everybody could see your face. For those of you watching us on YouTube, you need to see how much Lezly's just beaming with joy right now.
Me and my ex-husband, hot and cold friends, but we're friends. I'm dating, and as scary as that can be, like, it's also exciting. I'm ready for love. Like, I'm at this place where I actually don't want to love for them. I want to love for me. And it's quite interesting to be like, I love myself this much that I want to gift myself the experience of witnessing myself in relationship with someone else.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah, it's profound. Profound. And of course they're going to get the same experience. So as much as it feels selfish to say, it's not, because I want someone to be in that place too. This place of, I love myself first and then I love you. So yeah, that's exciting. Just even the thought of that. I travel so often. Like, I just got back from Mexico. I'm in England next week. I'm only back for a week, and then I'm in Costa Rica. Then I'm back for 2 weeks, and I'm in Hawaii. Then I'm back for 3 months. I need to change that. No. And then I'm off to Egypt for 2 weeks. So I'm a single mum, and me and my ex-husband just figure it out. So I get extra time with him. I have a secure relationship with my son, in that even though I travel so much, it excites him, because he gets to, one, I'm more present when I'm with him, and I'm just a great fucking mum, because I don't come from this place of, we all have shadow thoughts. I understand the mum guilt, and it does weave into my consciousness sometimes, but rather than this shadowy thought of, you don't understand how much I sacrifice for you, so you should be fucking grateful, because if any mums are listening and they're denying that they have that thought, please. I come from this place of, I have designed my life to have so much freedom and so much love and so much connection, that I know how secure my son is in his relationship with me. I know that his dad is an amazing dad, and he gets time with his grandparents and all these people that love him when I'm not here. So when I'm with him and the time that we have to connect, truly our bond is stronger, because there is no shadow. There is no part of me that sort of blames him for the things I'm missing out on, because I ensure that I've created a life where I have both. I get to be Lezly, who is a seeker, who loves to travel. I do hope that one day, and I feel it's close, that my ex-husband will let me travel with him. That's my ultimate dream, is go for 2 weeks somewhere with him, because I would love for him to experience the world with me. He's only 5, so and we've only been separated for 18 months. So I, I just know that that's going to come. Like nothing in me thinks that it's not. But yeah, I'm in this beautiful place where the relationships in, like I have beautiful friends. You know, I got back from Mexico and integrating plant medicine, being a mother, running a business, life seemed really a lot. So I just asked a friend to move in for 3 months to au pair for me. So she needed somewhere to stay. I needed more support. So because I'm not afraid to ask for support in my life or share the resources that I have, in any moment where I feel, you know, I talk about becoming the storm, like it's like I'm constant no matter what's happening, because I will ask for support, or I'll ask for stability, or I'll share resources or share the things in life that can feel confronting if you're trying to do it alone. Yeah, so truly just this journey of life, I call it work, and you know, women pay me to help give them, not even give them, to help them remember the joy, this joy, this bliss that's inside of them. I would do it for free.
Yeah. And
Like,
it's inside of all of us though. Like when we're standing in natural alignment, and this is the moment we let ourselves start feeling, and the moment we let our soul come into our bodies, that's when everything changes.
yeah,
Our eyes
truly,
sparkle, our joy emanates, like there's
truly,
magic.
truly. And I'm going to actually touch on the I would do it for free, because there's going to be some people that say, well, why don't you? Truly, because life is about reciprocity. And if I didn't charge, then all of these relationships that benefit from my abundance would no longer benefit. So when you actually realize that, well, you're gonna know the depth of my spirituality now. When you actually realize that Mother Earth, Gaia, the primordial mother, her intention is not for a single soul on this planet to suffer. There is enough abundance, there is enough love for every single soul. We just choose to think and believe and feel differently.
I agree.
So when you sort of remove that conditioning, when you sort of get back into your body and home to yourself and the earth, home to, like, truly this pilgrimage for me of going back to my actual birth mother, and when you start to be in relationship and allow yourself to receive from life, then you realize that, you know, it's not actually about money, it's about the energy. It's about, I give as much as I receive. And for me, it shows up in my vision as like an internal wheel, but it's like a wave, this constant flow of give and take and give and take and give and take. And if we take too much, stops flowing. If we give too much, which was my thing, stops flowing. So we have to make sure it's in balance. And it's kind of like what I describe as this wheel of life, or this internal flame. Like I think of it as like a wave of water and a wave of fire, this balance of reciprocity in life and the energy that keeps everything moving.
Yeah, I feel that. I really do. And I agree. Like I couldn't agree more. And it is, and there's also the other side of that equation too. Like if you're giving freely, but people aren't valuing in terms of what they're receiving, they often don't let themselves fully receive the embodiment of what's available, because they don't feel
Truly,
like they've been worthy or earned it, or let's insert all of the other things that are on that side of the scale. Okay,
truly.
so last question. We've been working together for a little while now.
Yes.
And I'd love to know what it's been like in terms of integrating finance as a payment pathway for your clients, what that's made available for them, and the difference it's made being able to be paid in full through finance in your business.
I love finance purely because I get paid up front. So my nervous system then goes, oh, all right, I'm good. I've been paid. There is still a little bit of savior in me. I do want to save the world. So I'll give women 12-month payment plans or 9-month payment plans. And it actually takes me out of receivership, because there's still a little bit of fear of them falling out of life happens.
Yep.
So there's a lot more risk to me as a business in that relationship, and not because I ever truly believe that anyone in my life would intentionally not pay, but if they don't do the work, or something in their they attract something in their life that happens where they can't pay, then it's a risk that I take, but it makes me a lot calmer when the money comes to me first.
And you're always the first one to go when things get hard. People
Truly.
don't default on home loans or cars, but if it's something that's like not as committal as a relationship with a bank, it's the first to go.
Truly. So that I don't like people to be in a state of stress when they're trying to regulate the nervous system, because that feels counterproductive for me.
Right?
So if we're in this space of creating well-resourced women often come to me that are sort of at a level and they want to break through. So at a stretch, they could afford to pay for my programs, but it puts them into a state of lack. And if I feel them slip, in the conversations when we're talking about paying, if I feel them slip into a state of lack, I'm like, I think you should finance. And the reason why is because $100 a week is a lot more expansive on your nervous system than coming up with $2,000 a month if you're only making $4,000 a month or whatever it might be. So I sort of just sense into where they're at in their abundance game, because it is just a game. Right. And if they're not in this, if they're not abundant, and like $4,000 a month is a lot of money for a lot of people, but giving half of that away for something that's not guaranteed, even though they'll be able to see the results at the end, and I'm certain of that, for at least the first 3 months, they're going to be in a lack mindset. And then my ability to actually get in and help them regulate and come into a state of trust with life is actually harder, because they're already in a state of contraction. So for me, I'm like, if this feels like it's any contraction in your body and you can finance, just finance. Because I would rather you feel expansive and feel like not notice the money leaving your bank account than going to pay me every month and contract, because then I've got to pull you out of contraction into normal and then pull you from normal into expansion. And I don't want to do that. Truly, I would rather have you start at a baseline and pull you into expansion than make you contract before I even get to work on helping you to expand into the possibility of life.
I love that. And I love that you've recognized that, because it is, and even sometimes with like large payments, like 2,000 a month on like an average income, not only do they contraction, sometimes there's a resentment.
Truly.
And it's very hard to receive from the person that you're feeling resentful towards, and also now you're feeling scarcity. So I love what you shared there, because it's the truth. Like, you can't regulate your nervous system if you're putting yourself into stress. You can't receive if you're in stress.
So yeah, and it's a catch-22, and I think it helps that I believe in investing in myself. So for any coaches that are looking to add finance, if you wouldn't get finance for yourself, ask yourself the question, why? Why aren't you investing in yourself in that way? Because that's the roadblock to your clients using finance. It's not actually them, it's your belief system around it. Because truly, I would get a loan to invest in myself. I have.
Me too.
Constantly. I literally, because I'm in business with myself, I got out a loan to book some travel the other day, an interest-free thing, because I believe in this circle of reciprocity. And now I've just got to budget better, because I'm waiting for all these people on payment plans, because my last round of enrollments went on my payment plan rather than finance. So if we look at this circle of give and receive, if everyone paid me up front through finance, I wouldn't have had to have done that either. So we just have to balance out this, the energetics of fear, because we're only fearful if we don't believe we're actually going to do the work to create change in our lives. And I truly believe that if we commit to it, that we'll do it. So for anyone that perhaps is like, I don't know about finance, because I would be looking at your money stories.
100%.
I would be looking at your belief in investing in yourself, because I think if you're investing in yourself, I'm investing in travel. I'm in a place where travel is investing in my soul. Like, that's how much I believe in life and abundance and this wheel of reciprocity that we're in. So, but if you can't even convince someone to take out a $10,000 loan to change their life, then where wouldn't you do that for yourself?
Yeah, I love that you said that. And there's two things that I want to add into the addition of that is like the money stories around where are you not doing it, but where are you blocking yourself in receiving? Because
Receiving.
here's the thing that I've noticed. This magically happens every time I take somebody through the onboarding process is that the moment they say yes to finance, they're instantly saying yes to being paid in full for more clients. And then all of a sudden they have clients start paying them in full where they might have like a 10% pay in full, but just because they've been through the finance process with me, all of a sudden they might be getting like 30% now start paying them up full in full, have it that available to them, plus the others that they get through finance. So there's this really interesting thing around receiving that happens. And
Truly.
the other thing too that people don't get about using finance in this way is that people think about finance like when you go get a car loan and they think, right, so if I've got a car loan, how much am I paying in interest? Because the moment you take ownership of that car, the moment you take hold of those keys, you drive it off the showroom floor, your car's just become loosed, it's become used, so you've lost money. You're now paying interest on a loan, plus you've got maintenance, plus you've got petrol and any other breakdown stuff that might happen with that car.
Mm-hmm.
It costs you money. Cars don't make you money. So when they think about using loans for investment like this, they use that same kind of mentality. With what they're not getting is, yes, finance is going to cost you money. There will be some fees and charges and interest involved with it. But when you take that money and invest it into yourself, you can't go wrong because you will make yourself money. Even if you're doing work on yourself, you've just become a more highly resourced person, which means you can put a higher value on your services. And in business, if you're putting that into your own business, not just your own life, like the return on investment, you can go make multiple six figures over here. Who cares if you're paying a couple of $1,000s of interest back over here on the loan? It's not
Truly.
a car. It's not car finance. You don't lose here, you gain. And that's where
Truly.
people don't quite get the psychology around it.
And this is the relationship with love and trust of themselves. They're not trusting themselves to make the right decisions to move their life forward. And it's a catch-22 because you need to step into coaching containers that are going to help you build this relationship.
Mm-hmm.
If you have restriction around spending money on yourself, it's the first place to start.
Yeah, I love it. Lezly, you have shared so much gold with us today. Like this is one of those episodes that you'd listen to and you'd rewind and you'd write some notes and you'd put some questions. Now, I know that you've got some special stuff going on at the moment, and there was something special that you wanted to share with our audience in terms of how, like, if they were really resonating with some of the incredible stuff that you shared and they wanted to work with you a little bit further, what's available and how do they get in contact with you?
So I actually have a 20% off at the moment. It's for the lunar eclipse. You're probably not going to listen to this in the lunar eclipse, but because I love Kelly, I'm going to extend it to her listeners. So if you just let my team know that you listen to Kelly's podcast and you want the lunar eclipse discount, then I'll make sure my team is across it. So you'll get 20% off all of my services. The easiest way to, yeah, truly. It's frequency, guys. And
right?
then the easiest way is probably Lezly Kaye on Instagram. So it's at LEZLYKAYE. I've got a link in bio there. So my website is actually lesleykaye.com. So I am quite easy to find. But yeah,
Great.
jump across there. You'll see all the links. And yeah, I'd love to connect with anyone.
Amazing. And I'm also going to plaster these links all over the usual places. You'll see it on the Spotify. You'll see it on iTunes. It'll be on YouTube. It's going to be all over my Facebook posts. Lezly will be tagged in there. We'll be on, what's the other one? Instagram. My God.
Yep.
So many.
All of the places. Yeah.
All of the places. You will find us. So thank you so much for being with us today, Lezly, and sharing your magic. It has been a pleasure and an honor. And thank you, beautiful souls, for tuning in. If you have found value in this, please share it because it's made a difference to you. Of course, it's going to make a difference to others. I love you. Mwah.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Lifestyle Finance Show. If you loved this interview, please feel free to share it because if it made a difference to you, it will absolutely make a difference to others. And if you are a coach, healer, or mentor, and you'd like to explore getting finance set up for your business so you can get paid in full from day one and financially support your clients in a far greater capacity than just your in-house payment plan, head over to my website, www.lifestylefinanceco.com, and follow the prompts so we can explore this further. Big love, beautiful soul, and thanks for the support.